Like I've mentioned in my past games I played in a year videos, I'm normally slow when it comes to catching up on the latest trends. There were a couple I did play that came out in 2024, like Sonic X Shadow Generations, a remaster of one of the best Sonic games, packaged with a new Shadow expansion that was really fun controlling the ultimate life form in the boost gameplay, while feeling different to his Blue rival. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is a blast to play, especially with other people. A lot of my experiences last year was playing games I didn't play in 2023, that I really wanted to. Super Mario Bros. Wonder was a breath of fresh air, harking back to pure 2D Mario fun that has been dormant since 2012, but with a new coat of paint. I love that you can play as multiple characters like Peach and Daisy. The power-ups like the elephant fruit were very creative, and the Wonder Flower brought out some truly colourful levels. I do wish that you could play as the Yoshis without the handicap they bring alongside them, but it is just a small bite to an otherwise excellent game. I've normally been a console gamer, but over the last year or so, I've been mostly playing games on my PC, and one of those titles was HiFi Rush. Something I heard a lot of people gushing over 2023. It was one of those games I really wanted to play in that year, but couldn't. I put it down as one of the things to play last year, especially being a fan of action games like Devil May Cry, as well as rhythm games. Combining two very different genres like action and rhythm is an odd combination, and while it has been done before, it works like a dream here, as your attacks become stronger when you hit at the right time of the beat. The levels are designed with music too, as platforms, lasers are in time with the music, and moves like the dash are tied to the beat. I believe music really amps up my enjoyment of a game, especially when it comes to action titles, and using it as a mechanic really helps. There is a metronome that can help you visually to see if you are on the beat, but I followed along with the tap of my feet, getting entranced by the music, which consists of bands like The Prodigy, a band I used to listen to often when I was younger, as well as 9 Inch Nails and The Joy Formidable, which I use well in every moment they play. There is a ton of music too that is excellent, and if you are someone who live streams, there's even a streamer option. I enjoyed the combat for the most part. Now my biggest issue comes from certain enemies with shields that can only be damaged by assists with cooldown periods, which slows the combat down a bit. There are upgrades to reduce the cooldown time, and it is only a few, but when it comes to action games, I tend to prefer having no cooldowns or a single way of defeating enemies at all, and instead relying on my positioning and executions. The story is a fun tongue-in-cheek romp, focusing on a group of rogues taking down an evil corporation, which is very relevant today. The main cars are colourful with great designs. Tai has a pretty cool red staff that reminded me of Hoxima from the PlayStation 2 Shinobi game. They also have a lot of personality, with Tai being a total goofball and the villains being comedy evil, but some of the jokes don't land well for me, especially the self-aware ones. Even if you are new to the hack and slash genre, I think HiFi is a good one to start with. That didn't mean I stopped playing consoles altogether, as I got a PS5 for Christmas in 2023, and during 2024 I got a few games for the console, like Street Fighter 6, which I still need to play more of, as well as Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16. I grew up with Spider-Man, watching many of the cartoons, reading the comics, as well as watching the Sam Raimi trilogy, with the first two still holding up today. Fun fact about me, the Spider-Man soundtrack was my very first CD I bought, which unfortunately I don't own anymore. Spider-Man on the PS4 was one of my favourite games I played back in 2018, and I really enjoyed Miles Morales, so when I heard Spider-Man 2 was coming out, I knew that I wanted a PlayStation 5 eventually. I got it as a birthday gift and was something I couldn't stop playing during March. Like in the original Insomniac Spider-Man game, web swinging the gorgeous looking New York was one of my favourite parts, which was enhanced by the new gliding ability. The overall gameplay hasn't changed much since Miles Morales, but hey, what's not broken doesn't need fixing. The combat is mostly similar to the past games, but now you can play as both Peter and Miles with their unique abilities, like Miles' Venom powers and Peter's new symbiote powers. Yet in that, I prefer the original game story around Dark Ark, but the story is still pretty good here, with Kraven being worthy of a great villain, as well as adapting elements of the symbiote storyline with a few twists to keep it fresh. The game has a lot of things to do, and the extra detail when it comes to the visuals, side modes, and costumes is impressive, if a bit overwhelming. It's something I appreciate as a fan of the character, but something that didn't need to be, especially how much the game cost to make, the manpower, and time the staff must have worked on it. That seems to be one of the biggest issues when it comes to the gaming industry. Still, I appreciate the number of accessibility options that, while I probably won't use, helps make it easier for people to get into. The other PS5 game I got was Final Fantasy 16, which I got around the time I got the console. I played a few Final Fantasy games in the past at FF6, 15 and Xillia, but I haven't had a lot of experience with the franchise before. I mostly came in as someone who loves medieval fantasy stories as well as action games, so when I heard that one of the guys who helped design Devil May Cry 5 was working on this game, I knew I wanted to play it. In the first few hours, I enjoyed the combat and new moves by unlocking the summons, but I felt the combat became stale over time, especially considering how long the game is and a lot of aggressive enemies. Our main character, Clive, has a lot of variety with his move pool, yelling new moves over time, but once I got a particular summon, the game became pretty easy. I'm not sure if it was because I was playing the game on default that made it such a breeze. Like my issue with Bayonetta 3, the bosses in FF16 felt more like a spectacle, throwing in different styles of gameplay ideas like a Veil Suitor segment, and considering some of these yanks, I got bored of them pretty quickly. Well, except for one, but that was because I was in a call with a friend and we were both laughing at the change of music style. Clive is a great and handsome hero, and I liked some of the supporting cast like Gav and Sid, who bounce off well with Clive, but most of the time on the field, you're either by yourself or with Cordor, who can't talk, and Jill, who lacks any fun chemistry with our hero. FF16 is a game I thought was just okay, but after finishing it, I don't think I'll be coming back to it. Thankfully, this wasn't the only Final Fantasy game I played recently. Final Fantasy IX was a game I heard a lot of praise from people I knew growing up, even as far as being called one of their personal favourites, so expectations were high. I played it on Steam using a Maguri mod, which upscales the game, increases the battle speed, including the summons, while bringing back the original PS1's fonts and UI. The only issue I had with it is that the final cutscene crashed, but hey, I beat the game. Unlike 16, 9 uses the ATB system like the last few games before 9, which is something I think works better for the game's length. While levels usually play a crucial role in victory, each character can inherit new skills and abilities by equipping different weapons and armor, which really affects the outcome of battles. Usually in a JRPG, you would normally just pick the gear with the best stats, but here I had to think which one to use, either for the current situation of the campaign or which skill I wanted to learn, as each equipment has their own experience points. You can make your party immune to all stats, core stats, or even a counter-attack enemies. I would have fights where Amaranth would just one-shot the enemies by turning them into stone, and the first time doing it, I laughed so hard. Despite the customization options, each character has their own role, like Zidane, who's your thief, Vivi your black mage, and Garnet being your white mage. The biggest flaw with the combat is the trance mechanic, which buffs your characters, like giving Vivi the ability to cast 2 magic spells in a row, but unfortunately activates on its own when the meter fills up, which is usually when I don't need it, so it just becomes unreliable. There are a lot of side quests which I try to do when I got around to it, but I didn't do it in many. I know I would play this game again, trying out more customization options and going back to the side quests. The characters are excellent for the most part, going through their experiences of their meaning to live, with Garnet, a princess who felt imprisoned before seeing Zidane, or Vivi, who has a low life expectancy. Final Fantasy IX is such an amazing RPG, and thinking about it since I beat it back in November, it might be in my top 10 in the genre. Speaking of JRPGs, I actually played quite a few last year from Phantasy Star 2 and Pokemon Emerald, but 2024 was the year I revisited the Tales series after watching a few friends play through some of the games back in 2023, as well as watching solo runs from my good pals Stoven and Deez. I highly recommend checking them out if you love Tales as well as solo runs of games like Xillia 1, which is the game I will be talking about today. If we're talking about a stellar cast, then look no further. Jude and Mia are excellent dual protagonists, with Jude being a med student who is calm and reactive that is willing to help others to a fault, and Mia who's a fish out of water when it comes to the human world, but who is strong-willed and mature. The rest of the party are also excellent, like Xillia, a childhood friend of Jude, Alvin, the mysterious and rugged badass, Deez, who lost her family, and the absolute King Rowan. It is such a diverse cast that blend well like peanut butter and jam, both in the main plot and in the sticks. The story was engaging all the way through with plenty of twists and turns, though it had a slight bump around the endgame. You have the option to follow Jude's or Mia's perspective throughout the campaign, and knowing prior thanks to friends, I went with Jude's, as apparently you may not understand the stuff happening if you pick Mia's. While some Tales games have amazing stories, the combat is the main appeal for me, and Xillia manages to have some of my favourite combat in the series so far alongside Vesperia. Characters can perform basic attacks alongside arts, aka special moves for people unfamiliar with the series, while using the directional stick to change the attack. Arts are like your spells that cost TP, but each attack and arts can be chained together. Now each attack you do costs 1 assault counterpoint. Characters can also link together on the fly to give each other buffs as well as perform link arts. It's a flashy combat system that is fun to experiment and easy to get a grip with, but can be tough to master. My favourites to play were Xillia with her long reach and air combo potential, Mia's combination of performing quick spells and melee combat, and Jude who can move around the opponent with a perfect dodge. There is a skill tree the party has, which is the way to unlock new moves and abilities, making the game a lot of fun to test out, and like previous titles allows you to transfer your skills to New Game Plus, which adds more player expression, something I would use the next time I play. Xillia was an early Naruto game I played for the first time last year, as I played a couple more. Back in 2020, I played the remake of the very first Katamari Damacy, which was a lot of fun as you must get a bunch of stuff to grow your board larger. The remake for the second game, Love Katamari, came out not too long afterwards and is similar to its predecessor, though a lot more love was put into this remake with new missions playing as the king during his childhood. I prefer the original game's plot of the king destroying all the stars while drunk, but Love Katamari goes beyond in terms of mission variety, as while you have your standard reach a certain height, you also have missions like making a campfire before your flaming Katamari goes out, or rolling ahead for a snowman. There is also a lot of stuff you can do besides the main story, like unlocking the prince's cousins by finding them in each stage, as well as remix missions. I adore the childlike visuals and the music is such a vibe to listen to, with my favourites being Everlasting Love, Houston and Disco Prince. Love Katamari is such a chill game to put on for a few levels that I recommend to anyone who doesn't want something too demanding. There isn't anything like Katamari. I also dabbled in Namco's Ridge Racer series, starting off with the original Ridge Racer as well as Ridge Racer Type 4. The original is fun but simple with only 3 tracks. It was certainly impressive being a launch title for the original PlayStation. Ridge Racer Type 4 now? That's a different beast altogether. Ridge Racer 4 looks absolutely beautiful with amazing lighting effects running on the PlayStation 1. The courses look so dazzling with many tracks being set at the brink of dawn or in the middle of the night. The soundtrack is so catchy, being a range of genres such as acid jazz, neo-soul, breakbeat and house, with many of its songs getting stuck in my head even after putting down the controller. My favourites include the opening cinematic title theme, Pearl Blue Soul and Move Me. Driving feels so good to control, allowing you to change your gears and view. Personally, I like driving in first person to give that illusion of going fast, as well as giving you a glimpse of who's behind you. The cars feel less realistic compared to something like Gran Turismo, and more arcadey despite its grounded tone. Type 4 has a scenario mode with multiple campaigns that puts you in the role of a driver who's part of a racing team of your choosing, ranging in various difficulties, with each campaign lasting less than an hour. The stories are sweet, interacting with a member of your crew after each race, talking about their situations. I remember one who lost a dear friend and former racer who wants to make it to the top to achieve his friend's dream. I've come back to this one multiple times to play for a quick hour and still have a blast. Ridge Racer was an early driving game I played, as the first game in this video that actually came out in 2024 was Victory Heat Rally, an indie racing game developed by Sky Devil Palm and published by Playtonic Games. Victory Heat Rally was something I kept an eye on for a while until it launched in October. Yes, it took me that long to play something new. It is a lot more wacky and fast-paced compared to Ridge Racer, focusing on getting speed by drifting around corners. For the price, Victory Heat has a surprising amount of stuff to do, like your usual Grand Prix and a mission mode, similar to Sailor All-Stars Transform, which is the way to unlock new races. The races unfortunately don't have a lot of personality in between the cutscenes or in the character select screen, something I expected when you have one of your drivers being a luchador. The missions themselves are fun, from passing through a number of gates within a time limit or avoiding oncoming traffic. Sadly, the races are painfully easy that don't get challenging until near the end, and a lot of the courses are very short. V8R is a good first attempt by the developers and something that could be improved with a sequel. Besides V8R, there were quite a good amount of indies that grabbed my time. Katana Zero was a stylish 2D one-hit death action game with a bumping synthwave soundtrack. Gravity Circuit was a fun 2D platformer inspired by the Mega Man X games, and Avery Attorney was an interesting Euro title set in Paris inspired by Ace Attorney and the art of J.J. Granville. However, two particular yet distinct indies, one of them was a gift from a friend and the other was something I had in my wish list all the way back in 2018, that being A Hat in Time. I'm not sure why it took me this long to hop on, as I love 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario Sunshine. There are even levels that took inspiration from Sunshine's trial missions. You play as Hat Kid, a space traveler or time traveler who lost a source of power for a ship from the Mafia and must retrieve them back from the wacky worlds he landed on. The cast are so colourful, from the Mafia dunes to the conductor with his strong Scottish accent that made me laugh a good amount of times. Hat Kid is a mute but has a lot of personality with her various facial expressions and idle animations. She also gets empathy, only wanting her time capsules. If you get in her way, she won't bat an eye. I love it. The game starts off as a standard 3D character farm, but once you enter the second world, the levels break the mold with unique scenarios. World 4 even becomes a full-fledged sandbox. One of my favourite moments is in World 2, parodying the classic murder of the Oriental Express, where you must sneak around the crows to find evidence. I love the crows in this level asking you for personal details, and when you answer them they just mumble. It sounds so funny. I played this on PC, which in this version allows for mod support, where I can download some fun and creative stages. I even found one inspired by the airport from Sunshine. Hat Kid has a lot of moves that make platforming a lot of fun, like your double jumps, dives and wall runs, and she gains new abilities that are used to the fullest. Each ability she gets is a new hat, like the Sprint Hat, which makes her run faster, and the Dweller Mask, that sets off invisible platforms. Her homing attack does need some time to get adjusted, but overall, I love controlling her. This is one of the best 3D platformers I've played in a long time. A good amount of games I played were either received during a Steam sale, or was received as a gift. Signalis was the latter, received as a gift from a friend who knew how much I loved Silent Hill 2, and wanted another survival horror title to scratch at its. I adore the low poly PS1 art style, combined with the 2D sprite work used in the cutscenes. Now the audio design steals the show, especially when playing with headphones on, that makes trekking through the uncharted territories that much more eerie. I remember entering certain rooms and being jumped by the streams of the enemies. Signalis goes back to classic survival horror, as you must be wary of your inventory and ammo capacity, something I appreciate as you have to think when to kill and when to avoid enemies. I did find it a bit irritating to go back to the storage rooms to drop items off or to take some to progress, but that's just part of the experience. Plus, it makes you think whether you need to pick up the extra ammo or health pack. The puzzles felt like classic survival horror too, taking notes from cues you find and using them to progress. I took a lot of notes on my phone, taking screenshots of numbers and images to use, which made the experience that much more engaging. There is an item that allows you to take screenshots, but I never used it as it took up space in my inventory and it was easier to take an image from my phone or jot notes down. I did get stuck a few times, but that was more my own fault rather than the game's. The story mostly leaves it up to your imagination, with the only motivation being a photograph you find once your player character wakes up from cryostasis, but it gives you enough information to be enthralled with its themes and characters, with its atmosphere and notes you can pick up. If you love survival horror games like Silent Hill 2, I highly recommend Signalis. Going from a horror game to a game with horror elements, we have Emio The Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club, a murder mystery visual novel by Nintendo. Unlike a lot of Nintendo's games that usually get revealed in a direct, Emio was teased with a video out of nowhere that people, including myself, had no idea what it was, but interested in what it should be. I was pretty happy when it turned out to be another Detective Club game, especially since this was the first original title made in over 25 years, plus the first one to actually get a physical copy in the West. I was aware of the Famicom Detective Club games, but I never played them until I got this one for Christmas. I usually have that one game I sit down and chill with throughout the holidays, all the way through New Year's, and I thought a murder mystery was a great pick, especially with a bottle of Jack Daniels on the side. In Emio, you play as two detectives, one of them being Ayumi Tatsubana, you know, that one trophy in Melee, and the other being a guy who you name, as they try to solve the murder of a boy who was strangled by the urban legend, the Smiling Man. This isn't for everyone, as it does contain mature themes that some people may feel uncomfortable with, plus the story being a slow burn that doesn't pick up until later. But I was invested in the plot from the beginning to the end with a lot of fun twists. I played the last few hours around when the new year was about to begin, while my younger brother was next to me, and we were both invested that we were coming up with predictions on what was going to happen next. I highly recommend playing this with a friend group. I was also surprised that every single dialogue was fully voiced, no, only in Japanese. The game is very pretty and the music fits so well with every moment. The game is also easy to navigate, hardly getting stuck. But there are some pacing issues where you will be repeating the same commands over and over just to progress, as some characters will go on about things I already knew about or go off topic. If you want something that isn't too demanding and can handle some mature elements, then give Emio a try. From one murder mystery that I experienced at the end of the year to a bunch of murder mysteries I played throughout last year, we have the original Ace Attorney trilogy. I've considered myself a fan of Capcom's library from Mega Man, Street Fighter to Devil May Cry, but there were a few I hardly or never played before. That is until last year when I played through the first Dragon's Dogma, Omnimusa, and the first 3 Ace Attorney games. I have played one Ace Attorney game prior, which was Dual Destinies on the 3DS, about a decade ago, but for whatever reason I never continued until recently during a Capcom Steam sale. In the original trilogy, you play as Phoenix Wright, a lawyer who solves various cases with the assistance of a spirit medium named Maya. Most cases start off with investigating a case, finding evidence, and then presenting them in court while finding inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies and seeking out the true culprit. Ranking the ones I played, Trials and Tribulations is my favourite, being an amazing climax to the Phoenix Saga, then the very first one, and finally Justice for All. However, if you go into the series, don't skip any of them. Without spoiling it for people who haven't played any of these games, my favourites are Phoenix Wright, Maya Fey, Godot, and my personal favourite, Detective Gumshoe. This series was on my mind for months, playing a case per day to really sink in the stories. I love this trilogy and I'm excited to try out the rest. I even got the prequel game, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which was bundled with the original trilogy at the time, so I think I may start off with this one next. The last 2 games I want to mention are multiplayer focused, with the very first one being another game I got on the Capcom Steam sale, Monster Hunter Rise. I tried out the Monster Hunter games plenty of times before, ever since the PSP, but no matter how many times I tried, I just couldn't get into them. That is until me and one of my friends hopped on Rise, where it finally clicked with me. I became obsessed with Rise, hunting alongside him. I usually hopped on most mornings with a cup of coffee to do a mission or three, grinding for materials to get new weapons and armor. My go-to weapon types were the sword and shield for a more aggressive playstyle, and the lances when it came to tanking hits and distracting the monsters while my allies fought behind. So far I put in over 50 hours, and it may be more by the time this video gets uploaded. If it wasn't for him and getting it on a sale, I probably wouldn't have touched it, so if you're watching this, thank you. Steam sales are a great way to get out of your comfort zone, and I'm excited to play Monster Hunter Wilds this year. The other multiplayer game I became obsessed with was Phantasy Star Online. I enjoyed the first two Phantasy Star games, and when I heard from my friends there were private servers for PSO, I knew I had to hop on. I've had a blast spending evenings with my friends doing quests and stuff, but don't bring up the maracas. I even met a couple of new friends too on Discord while playing. There are 3 classes you can choose from: the Hunter, known for fighting up close, the Ranger that specializes fighting from a distance, and Force, who are the mages/carrots of the game. I'm currently playing as a Ranger, who by the way has a cute outfit. Like Monster Hunter, it's fun to do a couple of missions and grind for new weapons and spells. I'm not experienced with MMOs, but PSO is easy to pick up and play. I'm hoping to play more PSO with my friends again. It is probably my favourite game I played last year. Let me know what some of your favourite games you played last year for the first time, or what games are you excited for this year in the comments below, and a happy new year.